Welcome back, everyone. So today I'm going to do a little tutorial on some wire wrapping. It can be used for anything like polished stones. I'm going to use some rocks that I had found up on Lake Superior that I did polished. Pretty simple. Obviously there's a lot of techniques for wire wrapping. Once you figure out the pattern, you can kind of make it your own from there, but I'll go over some of the wire stuff I use, some of the kind of tools I use, or things you could use that are similar. You don't have to have these exact things, but anyway, let's go into the supplies and tools and then we'll get into the technique. 24 gauge is typically what works the best for me. It's small enough and easy enough to work with, but it also is not too small when you get to the point of making your hoops at the top. Like I have this double wrapped and it's got structure, but I wouldn't like squeeze it too bad. It would definitely pinch down, and anything that's a smaller gauge wire that would easily crush, and the more times that you crush it and like try to spread it open again, it will eventually break. So like the 26 and 28 gauge, like these are really fine and they don't really have any structure whatsoever. So when you get to the part of making your hoop, it will make a big difference on what size wire you have to keep it open. Like this is the 22 gauge and I'm squeezing it pretty good and it's still holding its shape. A little bit heavier wire will keep that hoop open and it'll look better that way in the end. And like a 20 gauge, you could still use this, but it's almost too big in my liking. Personal preference, you know, any of these would work. It's just these are my two sizes. So you can see the two sizes. The blue is the 24 gauge and this is 22. It's not a huge difference, but I wouldn't want to use a heavier gauge. It just kind of looks weird on a tiny piece, but either of those two sizes will work. I like them the most, like these two sizes the most. And if you were looking for something that's a little bit more colorful, like this is silver wire, but this stuff here is aluminum. And this is kind of cool stuff because it comes in different colors. So if you're looking for something, maybe if you have like this stone, if you wrap that in maybe like a red wire, would look kind of neat. There's a lot of options for colors and sizes on all of these wires. Well, sizes, the colors probably not so much on the silver, but that's an option. And just like go on Amazon and just look for crafting wire and you can bring up all kinds of different options. And even if you just wanted to use regular copper wire. As far as tools go, a pair of these close cut nippers and obviously some jeweler pliers. This just has like the conical shaped ends. So like when you want to make your little hoop, that's nice for that. Or if you don't want to go out and buy these, something like maybe just a punch that you have laying around, or even the handle of or the shaft part of a screwdriver, something that's just round that you can wrap your wire on and pull off. Doesn't have to be any crazy fancy tools. You just have to kind of think outside the box. And you could actually use something like, if it's all you have, you could actually use scissors to cut this wire. It's pretty soft. Or maybe even a pair of nail clippers. These are nice just because like when you start wrapping and you get done, maybe you have a little piece way up in there and you need to nip it off of there. It's easy to get up in there and cut. But those are the two things that I use and works pretty good. So with that said, let's do the most important part, and that is the wire wrapping. Now I kind of got some kinks in this stuff, but as a tutorial, I'm not too concerned. So I'm just gonna cut off about 10, 11 inch piece or so. And I'm just gonna make 4 pieces the same length or relatively close. They don't have to be exact. And most of the time, depending on the size of the stone, you'll probably actually have too much wire left over, but it's better to have extra than get almost to the end and realize you don't have enough wire left to make your hoop or wrap it around the piece to kind of finalize it. And all right, so we're gonna take our 4 pieces of wire, get them all lined up on one end, and we just kind of want to try and figure out roughly where center is. All right, so right about there. So this is roughly where center is. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just gonna make a little hoop there so we kind of know where we're at. I'm gonna take 2 of these, and then we're gonna find roughly the center's right there. Let's go off to the side a little bit. Go over it. 1, 2. And I kind of kink this up because I'm rusty. Haven't done this in a while. I'm gonna go back over here. What we're trying to do is just make a little open spot in the middle. And then you want to make sure that your piece isn't too big, or the hole isn't too big, so the piece will fall through. All right, so we're gonna go like that. That's our first piece. Now, take our other, we're gonna stick that through the opening. And then we're gonna try to hold this so I can see what I'm doing. Pinch it down a little bit. And we're gonna wrap it twice on this as well. Try to get it as close as you can, but it doesn't have to be exact. Pinch it, twist it, 2. So now we have our piece that looks like this, like that. I'm gonna do the other piece exactly the same on the other side. We're gonna push it down, twist it, twist it. So now we have a piece that looks like this. I got too many crimps on that. I kind of got a kink in that line, but you get the idea of what that's supposed to look like right there. So basically that's what you want. You want to have your main hoop and then the little hoops going off to the side. And then from there, you're going to take the 2 wires closest to each other, like this one and this one, and then like this one, and just going to go all the way around. And what you're going to do is you're going to make another hoop. All right, so we're going to take our 2 pieces of wire that are closest, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to twist it into a little hoop. Now ideally you try and make this hoop about the same size as that, but it doesn't have to be. Trying to make everything about the same size so it looks even throughout the piece. Being an odd shape, there probably is going to be some difference. Find out, like when you start doing this, that what size works. Alright, I'm just going to do this all the way around, so it's almost going to make like a little flower in the middle when you're done. Trying to make them as close to the same size as you can, but don't worry if it's not. It's not going to, I'm probably not going to do it perfect either because I'm trying to talk and do it at the same time and record this. But the technique is what's important here. Now I can kind of pick it up and you can see it maybe a little better. So I see we're making this little 4-petaled flower in the middle. All right, now this one's kind of wonky, but whatever, it'll be fine. So I'm gonna take my stone here. I don't know what this is, actually like some kind of quartz. I think I found this on, we went up north to Lake Superior on the coast and then got a bunch of rocks and I polished some. So these were from that trip. So I'm just shaping these all the way up each side, trying to make it even. And then it's kind of hard because you're trying to hold the wire in place and then make sure you got everything kind of straight. All right, so now we're still gonna keep doing that same pattern. It's just a matter of doing it on the stone. But we're gonna take, like everything else, we're just gonna take the 2 closest wires, and that one goes over here, just so you can kind of see what we're doing. And like these will be, we're gonna do the same twist 2 times on each side. I'm trying to keep my edges lined up with this line here, and then obviously the front and the back to be in the middle. But if it doesn't work out that way, it doesn't work out that way. And if you really get annoyed by it, you can always start over. So we got our first twist there. I'm gonna try to hold it while I'm getting this side. You know, 2 twists. Same on the back. Twists. And then I can get everything kind of combined here in the way. Overlap it, twist it, and now you can kind of see we're starting to get that almost like a net. We're basically creating a wire net around our piece. Now, once you get about halfway, which we pretty much are, you can either do it like this, where I stopped halfway and I just twisted it all the way up to the top. This one I kind of wrapped almost all the way up, and it kind of looks, you can kind of see like that was like the last twist, and from there I just went all the way to the top. And like this one was more towards the center, or like the halfway point, and then I just twisted each wire and then combined them at the top. So it's not, there's no exact or anything like that to how you do this. It's just like once you get the main, you know, wiring, then you can kind of just do what you want to finish it off. There's no right or wrong way to do it. This is just kind of how to get you started. With that said, sidetrack note, let's continue with this piece. If I did it here, it's going to put me almost to the top, so that could probably be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap these one more time, and I'm going to try to get this loop so the terminating point is about right there, and then I can just kind of wrap the wire at the top from there. Like I said, it's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just kind of like what your personal preference is. And then get my wires are everywhere. It's like you just want it to look good, but you also got to make sure that what you're doing is keeping your piece in, so there's no openings where it could fall out. Because if you have too big of a hoop, or if you don't have it wrapped properly, you could lose the stone or whatever the part is that's inside the wire. Yeah, so at that point, see, I could have got some of these like aren't perfectly centered. And sometimes you can kind of move them around a little bit, but I wouldn't reef on too much of it, because otherwise you're going to wreck your wire. So at this point, I want it so like when the person's wearing it, this side will be against their body. These are going to be my inner. I'm going to wrap these a couple more times, I think, just so I can get them kind of closer to the center point, like that. Now I'm going to take one side. All right, so I'm going to take these, I'll give them a twist together, and then that way, this is probably going to end up being my hoop at the end. So that then I'm going to take this piece. There's no right or wrong way. It's just like all you're trying to do is basically wrap the wire so that it's tight at the top. Wrap the wire so it's tight at the top. Oh no, I got my wires mixed up here. Hang on. And then give you a little bit of a distance between the stone, and then give you like a gap so when you're done with the hoop, you can wrap some of the wire underneath of it like this. You're trying to get like a little base underneath there. I have confused myself, which is not abnormal. All right, so I'm gonna wrap those a couple times just to kind of secure those. And then I'm gonna cut these two off. I just did on the underneath. All right, and I'm trying to push my wire down in the middle, kind of keeping it tight. And then I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to twist this one all the way up, try to make it kind of even if I can. And this is going to be our hoop. That's probably good. That's plenty, I'm sure. All right, now like I said, this is the back. And you have to think too, when the chain or whatever you're using for your chain, however you want your piece to be displayed, like when it's up against their chest, the hoop has to face outward so that the string can go this way. Otherwise, if you want it to be like this, it can't hang that way because of the shape of the hoop. So you have to remember which direction you want that hoop to be. So this is our back. So we're going to get our little pliers here. And this is where you can use your screwdriver or any kind of rounded tool. You can even use a pencil probably. If you just want it, depends on the diameter of your hoop that you're trying to make. Now I'm gonna wrap that under this. Do it again. I actually can go ahead and start wrapping this one with it a little bit, and then I'm going to cut that one off. I'm going to go underneath it so I can hide that wire. It's like there's not really any exact way to do it. Just like make sure whatever you're doing keeps the piece from unraveling. It doesn't have to be, you just want the wires to not come undone and then everything will fall apart. But you start wrapping it around. It's just kind of however far you want to go. I don't think I want to go too far. I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go back up towards the top. I'm probably going to call that good. Cut it off. Careful not to cut your hoop. And then we got our little end there. Try to push that down in there. Push it down inside of the wrap if you can. Basically, you just don't want it to be sharp, so when the person's wearing it, it can like scratch or cut them. And that's it. It's like, I didn't do a perfect job. It's not even. Obviously, you can see my holes are kind of oblong. I should have pulled this wire over farther so that they were more in the middle. But like I said, this is just a tutorial, just kind of showing you how to do it. It's not exactly how you need to do it, like this. Do a better job than me, but I think that'll get you started. And sometimes, like I said, this is, if you do enough of them, you can figure out how much wire you need to use. Like I said, that was about 11 inches or so, and obviously a smaller piece like maybe this one, I don't even think it was even that long. Like the odd pieces or odd sized stones, like that one, I had one that was, the technique wasn't even anywhere near what I did. I just tried to get this sliver of, this is tiger eye, and you just kind of have to look at your piece and think, I always see these things where people wrap them and they're all fancy and stuff, but it's like, it looks like the stone is just gonna pop out of there. It's like, you gotta make sure that there's no way for that to fall out. This is tapered, so I got the hoop here and a hoop here and a piece in the front and the back. So it's not gonna fall out. It might wiggle a little bit in there, but it's not gonna fall out. So you just kind of have to look at how to keep your piece secure. Like I said, you're just trying to get started with this technique. I found my bag of leather necklaces here and I threw it on my stone. One thing to note when you're making your hoop, make sure you make it big enough so that you can actually get your, like this has that chain on there and it's got a ring. Make sure you got a big enough hoop that you can get whatever type of necklace that you're using to fit through the hole. Make it a little bit bigger than you probably think you really need, but not too big because otherwise it look kind of weird. It's a pretty easy process to do. Once you get that base done, so you make like that flower pattern, and then you just kind of have to figure out what you're working with. You can just get it going from there. But if you really wanted to get into, this was just something I did really quick here too, just an old piece of end of a deer antler, you just wrap it around there. If you really want to start doing wire wrapping, I would suggest maybe getting a big spool of like 24 gauge or maybe 22. I think the 24 is a pretty all-around good size to start with, but get a good cheap, doesn't have to be anything fancy. You could even be like, doesn't have to be the silver, just something cheap. Go out, go walk down a dirt road, go for a walk in the park, pick up some rocks and stuff, different shapes, and maybe even like pieces of stick, I don't know, just something that you can practice wrapping around different shapes. Like that's why I just kind of did the little antler thing there. Once you get it kind of dialed in, and then if you want to keep going from there, like I said, I did some of these, polished some of these rocks or whatever that I got out of Lake Superior. Go to like a local gem crystal shop. They sell all kinds of different cuts and colors and all kinds of things that are really cool that you could actually implement into a necklace or a pendant or something like that using the finished stones. You don't only have to go out and like do the whole polishing thing. It's kind of cool to try, but it is a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And if you want to make some jewelry or whatever quickly, I would suggest just going to like a local shop like that and find some finished products that you can just wrap. But for now, I think I'm going to call it a day and think about what my next project's going to be. So for now, guys, I will see you later. Thanks for watching.